Markandeya Purana, Part 4, Madhu, Kaitavha and Mahamaya, Shakti Namah Shivaya. A story of goddess Durga. In Svarochisha Manvantara, that means third Manvantara, we lived in 7 Manvantara Vaivasvata. There was a king named Suratha, who became the ruler of the whole world. He looked upon his subject as his own sons. But Suratha had some enemies, and these enemy kings managed to defeat him. Not only did the enemy kings defeat him, they also attacked Suratha's capital. Some of Suratha's ministers were traitors, and they conspired with his enemies. The upshot was that Suratha lost his kingdom and his wealth and had to go off to the forest. In the forest, Suratha arrived at the Ashrama of sage Medha. The ashrama was peaceful and quiet, and Suratha spent some time there. But he kept on wondering what was happening in his kingdom and his capital. Now were his subjects. What were his treacherous ministers and servants up to? Were they succeeding in protecting the wealth of the kingdom? One day Suratha met a very unhappy-looking Vaishya near the hermitage. He asked the Vaishya what the matter was, and the Vaishya told him that his name was Samadhi. His dishonest sons, wives and relatives had robbed him of his riches, and he decided to come to the forest. But he kept thinking of his sons, wives and relatives. Where they were. Despite the ill treatment that he had received at their hands, Samadhi continued to love his sons, wives and relatives. Finding in Samadhi a kindred spirit, Suratha brought him to the sage Medha. They wanted to know from the sage the reason behind their strange feelings. The sage explained that all this was due to illusion of Maya, from which no living being was free. It was the goddess Mahamaya who created all these illusions, and prevented people from releasing the path of true knowledge. It was only when Mahamaya was pleased that these illusions disappeared. Mahamaya was everywhere throughout the universe, but time and again she appeared in order to serve the cause of the devas. People misunderstood this appearance for creations. The sage then told them the story of Madhu at Kaitavha. At the end of a kalpa or circle, Vishnu was sleeping on the waters that were everywhere. This was the sleep that came from yoga. But while Vishnu was thus sleeping, 2 terrible asuras named Madhu and Kaitavha emerged from his ears. These 2 demons tried to kill Brahma, who was sitting on Vishnu's navel. Brahma saw that the demons were trying to kill him. He also saw that Vishnu was asleep. So he began to pray to Mahamaya, who is always located in Vishnu's eyes. Thus worshipped by Brahma, the goddess Mahamaya appeared from Vishnu's eyes, mouth, nose, arms and chest. It was Mahamaya who had made Vishnu sleep. So as soon as Mahamaya emerged, Vishnu also woke up and discovered the 2 asuras named Madhu and Kaitavha, who were about to kill Brahma. For 5,000 years Vishnu wrestled with these 2 demons. Mahamaya gives all living beings illusions, and she now managed to deceive the asuras through her Maya. The demons were so deceived that they agreed to grant Vishnu a boon. "Give me the boon that I might kill you," said Vishnu. The asuras had no option but to comply. But the whole universe was flooded with the water, and they made a last attempt to save themselves. They said, "We will grant you the boon. We are happy at the fight that we have had with you, and we are therefore willing to die at your hands. But you must kill us in a place where there is no water." Vishnu agreed, He places the two asuras on his sides and slices off their heads with his chakra. This was one occasion on which Mahamaya appeared. The sage Medha continued. When Purandara was Indra, or the king of the gods, Mahisha was the ruler of the asuras. The devas and the asuras fought with each other for 100 years. In those wars the demons managed to defeat the gods. Mahishasura became Indra in the place of Purandara. The defeated gods made Brahma their leader and went to Vishnu and Shiva. They narrated their woes to Vishnu and Shiva and told them how the gods had been dislodged from Svarga and forced to wander around the earth as mere humans. Mahishasura had usurped the position of Surya, Indra, Agni, Pavana, Chandra, Yama, Varuna and other devas. Vishnu and Shiva were angry to hear all this. From their angry faces, energy emerged and combined with the energies that had emerged from Brahma's face. Energy also came out from the bodies of Indra and other gods. All this energy united, and the gods saw that this shining energy adopted the form of a woman. Shiva's energy constituted the face, Yama's energy the hair, and the Vishnu energy the arms. Chandra energy made the breast, Indra energy the waist, Varuna energy the thighs, Brahma's energy the feet, Surya's energy the toes, the energy of the Vasus the fingers, Kubera's energy the nose, Agni's energy the three eyes, the Pavana's energy the ears. The gods were delighted to see the gods of Devi who had been fashioned out of their own energy. The goddess was armed by the gods. Shiva gave her his Trishula, Vishnu his chakra, Varuna a conch shell, Agni Shakti, Vayu gave bows, arrows and a quiver. Indra gave her his Vajra club and removed a bell from Airavata neck for her. Yama gave her his Danda, Varuna his Pasha noose, Daksha a necklace of beads and Brahma his vessel of sacred waters. Surya energized her with his rays, Kala gave her sword and shield, and the ocean supplied her with necklace, clothes and jewelry. Many were the axes, armor and other weapons that Vishvakarma made for her. Varuna gave her garlands and lotus flowers. Himalaya brought her jewels and supplied her with her means of convenience, a lion. Kubera gave her a vessel of wine. The king of Nagal gave her a garland of snakes to wear. It is impossible to list all the other weapons that different devas brought for her. Thus attired and thus armed, the goddess began to laugh loudly. She roared and roared. So terrible were the roars that the walls shook and there were echoes everywhere. The mountains shivered and there were tremors in the oceans. Witnessing the goddess astride her lion, the devas chanted Jaya Jaya, victory, victory. The sages prayed to her with the folded arms. The asuras did not know what all this noise was about. So Mahishasura gathered his soldiers together and armed with diverse weapons. They came to see what was happening. They saw the Devi standing astride the world. The weight of her feet had made the earth hollow. Her crown rose up into the sky. The sound of her bow could be heard in the underworld, and her 1,000 arms seemed to encompass the earth. The Asuras began to fight with Devi. The first to fight was Chikshura, Mahishasura's general. He attacked Devi with a fourfold army. The Asura named Udagra attacked her with the chariots. So did another Asura named Mahahanu. Shiloma also attacked her with chariots, and as did the Asura Vaskala. Parivarita attacked her with elephants. Viravaksha fought with the chariots, and Mahishasura himself attacked her with the millions of elephants and horses. Several were the weapons that were used. The demons flung spears, nooses, and arrows and fought with the swords. Devi repelled all these weapons with her own, and her lion ravaged the enemy soldiers as the fire ravages a forest. Many demons emerged from Devi's breast and fought with the asuras. Some of the demons blew on conch shells, others beat on drums. Devi killed thousands of asuras with her Shakti, Trishula, mace and swords. Some of them fell unconsciousness at the sound of her bell. Others were tied up in her noose. Several died with her arrows in their breast. Some had their heads or arms cut off. Others began to vomit blood. Still others lay on the field on a battle with a broken thighs. Some lost their feet and eyes. Sometimes the asuras continued to fight, even though their heads had been cut off. These were the Kavanhas. The battlefield was littered with the dead elephants and horses, broken chariots, and dead bodies. It was difficult to pass. Rivers of blood flowed. In a matter of moments, Devi Ambika had destroyed the Asura soldiers like a fire consumes dry wood. The devas showered flowers from above. Seeing that his soldiers were getting slaughtered, the general Chikshura came to fight with Ambika. He showered arrows on Devi the way a rain-bearing cloud showers rain on Mount Sumeru. But Devi sliced off these arrows with her own and destroyed Chikshura's horses and charioteer. She also cut into pieces Chikshura's bow and pierced his body with arrows. The Asura grasped a sword and shield and attacked Devi. He struck the lion on the head with his sword and tried to slice off Devi's left arm. But the sword broke off on Devi's arm. The Asura then hurled a spear at her, but Devi hurled a spear as well. The two spears struck each other and splintered into 100 pieces. Devi then killed Chikshura with a spear. When Chikshura died, an Asura named Chamara attacked Devi on an elephant. He flung a Shakti at Devi, but Devi's robbed the Shakti of all its energy. The Asura hurled a Trishula at Devi, and Devi repelled the Trishula with her arrows. Devi's lion leapt onto the back of the elephant and began to wrestle with the Asura. In the process of wrestling, both Chamara and the lion fell off the back of the elephant, but they continued to wrestle on the ground. The lion eventually killed Chamara with a stroke of his paw. Devi killed Udagra with the stones and trees. She killed an Asura named Karava with the blows of her fist. Udhaka was killed with a mace. Vaskala died from the blow of an axe. And Tamra and Anhaka were killed with the arrows. Devi killed Ugrasya, Ugravirya and Mahahanu with her arrows. She sliced off Virava's head with her sword. Arrows were used to kill Durdhara and Durmukha. Mahishasura was distressed to see that so many of his soldiers were getting killed. He adopted the form of a buffalo, Mahisha, and attacked Devi. He began to kill Devi's demons with his hooves, tail, and horns. He then attacked Devi's lion, and this injured Devi. The ass was split asunder with the hooves of the buffalo. The tail of the buffalo created tidal waves in the ocean. The buffalo flung up huge mountains with its horns. The clouds broke up into a million pieces at the breath of the monster. Devi threw a noose and tied up the buffalo. As soon as he was captured, Mahishasura gave up the form of a buffalo and adopted that of a lion. Devi cut off the lion's head, but the Asura grasped a sword and met it from inside the lion's body. Devi shot arrows at the Asura and hit him with her throat. The Asura became an elephant and grasped Devi's lion with its trunk. Devi cut off the elephant's trunk. The Asura again adopted the form of a buffalo. Now Devi started to drink wine and her eyes became bloodshot. The ass shook with her laughter. The buffalo also roared and flung mountains at Devi with her horns. Devi used her arrows to break up the mountains in mid-air and said, "Stupid demon, wait till I have finished drinking the wine. Row as much as you want till that time comes. I will kill you then, and it will be the devas' turn to row." Having finished her wine, Devi jumped up onto the shoulders of the Asura and transfixed the buffalo with her trishula. The demon tried his best to come out of the buffalo's body, but he had only half emerged when Devi cut off his head with her sword. The Daitya soldiers fled in despair. The delighted devas and rishis prayed to Devi. The Gandharvas sang and the Apsaras danced. Many years ago there were two asuras named Shumba and Nishumba. They conquered the three worlds from Indra and usurped the titles of Surya, Chandra, Kubera and Varuna. They began to perform the functions that had been given to Agni and Pavana. The devas began to pray to Devi. She had after all promised them that she would appear whenever they needed her. While the devas were praying in the Himalayas, the goddess Parvati was passing on her way to bathe in the river Jannavi. Parvati asked the devas, "Who are you praying to?" As soon as she had asked the question, the Devi, Shiva or AMBIKA emerged from Parvati's body. She said, "The devas have been defeated in battle by Shumba and Nishumba. That is why they are praying to me." Since Shiva or AMBIKA emerged from the cells, kosha, of Parvati's body, she came to be known as Kaushiki. And since Parvati became dark after Kaushiki came out of her body, she came to be known as Kalika, or the dark. AMBIKA adopted the form of a very beautiful woman. Shumha and Nishumha had two servants named Chanda and Munda. Chanda and Munda saw AMBIKA and went to Shumha. They said, "King, we have seen a beautiful woman in the Himalayas. We don't know who is she, but you should take her to be your wife. You should at least take a look at her, for her beauty lights up the whole world. You have obtained the best of the jewels, elephants and horses in the three worlds. Your house now has Indra's elephant Airavata, his horse Uchai-Shravasa, and his Parijata tree. Brahma's Vimana, space vehicle, and Kubera's jewel are with you. The ocean has given you beautiful garlands, and Varuna has been compelled to give you his golden umbrella. Weapons like Yama's Shakti and Varuna's noose are now possessed by you. The ocean has been forced to part with all its jewels. Having seized all these prized possessions, why do you not claim this woman for your own?" Hearing this, Shumba sent a messenger named Sugriva to Devi. Sugriva went and told Devi, "The king of the Daityas, Shumha, has sent the message that he is now the ruler of the three worlds. He has conquered the gods, and all the prized possessions of the universe are now under his control. You are the most beautiful woman in the three worlds. Why don't you marry Shumba of his brother Nishumha?" Devi AMBIKA or Durga laughed. She told Sugriva, "All that you have said is true. Unfortunately, I have made a vow. That the vow is that I shall only marry the person who can defeat me in a battle. Why don't you ask Shumba and Nishumba to come and conquer me? Let us not waste time." Sugriva went and told Shumba that what Devi had told him, and the proud words of Devi entered Shumba. He called his general Dhumravachana and instructed him to go and capture her. Dhumravachana took 60,000 asuras with him to the Himalayas. But when he attacked Devi, the fire from Devi's eyes burned him into the ashes. The other asura soldiers attacked Devi with arrows, spears and axes. But Devi's lion began to kill the asuras with his paws and its mouth. Some asura soldiers had their hearts torn out, others lost their heads and arms. In short while, the lion managed to completely destroy the asura army. The news of this destruction reached Shumba, and Nishumba worked himself up into a rage. He now sent Chanda and Munda to capture Devi. They found Devi astride her lion in the Himalayas. On seeing this new asura army, Devi's face became red with anger and her brows furrowed. From her forehead there emerged Devi Kali. Kali had swords and other weapons in her arms. Her complexion was dark and she wore a garland of skulls. Kali's red tongue lolled out of her mouth and her roars echoed through the mountains. Kali descended like a scourge on the asura army. She killed some of the asuras, she ate the others. Elephants, horses, chariots and charioteers were flung into her mouth and eaten. She grasped some asuras by the hair or by the throat, though she mashed onto the ground with her feet. She even ate up the asura weapons. Since the asura soldiers were being destroyed like a chaff, Chanda and Munda themselves attacked Kali with the arrows and charters. But Kali simply swallowed up with the weapons and roared with the laughter. She clambered up on the lion, grasped Chanda by the hair and sliced off his head with a sword. Next Kali also killed Munda with a sword. Seeing that their leaders were dead, the asura soldiers fled in all directions. Kali brought the heads of Chanda and Munda to Ambika and said, I have brought you the heads of Chanda and Munda, but you will yourself kill Shumba and Nishumba. Ambika replied, since you have killed Chanda and Munda, you will from now on be known as Chamunda Kali. Shumba now prepared for war himself. Thousands and thousands of asura soldiers from the four corners of the earth were gathered together. Ambika and her lion were ready for these soldiers. Ambika twanged her bow, and the earth and the sky shook with the noise. Kali twanged her bow as well, and the lion roared. The asura soldiers surrounded Ambika, Kali and the lion. The devas created devas from their own bodies to help in the fight with the asuras. Brahma sent Brahmani, Shiva sent Maheshwari, Kartikeya sent Kaumari, Vishnu sent Vaishnavi, and Indra sent Arindri. Ambika sent Shiva as a messenger to the asuras. The messenger was that the asuras should fly away to the underworld or prepare to fight and die. Naturally the asuras refused to flee, but since she had sent Shiva as a messenger, Ambika came to be known as Shivaduti. The goddess Ambika easily repelled the various weapons that the asuras flung at her. Kali killed Asuras with her Trishula and sword, as did the other devas who had come to help. There was a terrible Asura known as Raktabija, and he now came to fight. Raktabija's characteristic was that if a drop of his blood fell onto the ground, another Asura just like him was created out of that drop of blood. The devas fought with Raktabija, but as his blood was split, more and more such asuras developed. The battlefield became full of these asuras, and the devas began to get frightened. On seeing the havoc that Raktabija was creating, Ambika called Kali to her. She told Kali, "Open your mouth wide open, I will attack Raktabija, and you drink up every drop of blood that is split. That is the only way to kill the Asura." Kali did as she had been bidden. She followed Ambika around, and when Ambika attacked Raktabija with a Trishula, Kali drank up the blood that fell. Raktabija struck Ambika with his mace, but she felt no pain. It is true that as soon as Kali drank up the drops of blood, new asuras were created inside her mouth. But Kali simply ate them up. Finally, Ambika killed Raktabija with a combination of weapons, like Trishula, Vajra, arrows and a sword. The devas were very happy when Raktabija eventually died. A terrible fight then raged between Shumba and Nishumba and Devi. Arrows were cut with arrows, swords were repelled with shields. When Nishumba hit Devi's line with a sword, Devi broke the sword with an arrow. Nishumba hurled Shakti, but Devi destroyed the Shakti with her chakra. Nishumba threw a Trishula, but Devi broke the trident with her fist. Nishumka mace met it match in Devi's Trishula. Nishumka grasped an axe, but Devi arrows flung him down onto the ground. As Nishumka lay on the ground, Shumka attacked. Shumka was riding on a beautiful chariot in the sky. On seeing him come, Devi blew on her conch shell and twanged her bow. The lion also roared. Kali clapped her hands, and sound of her clapping thundered across the sky. Ambika laughed loudly. The asuras were slightly scared at the great noise. Shumka threw a powerful Shakti at Devi, which Devi countered with a Shakti of her own. Shumba's arrows were countered with Devi's arrows. Ambika struck Shumka with her Trishula, and Shumka fell down on the ground unconsciousness. But Nishumka had regained consciousness by now, and he attacked with arrows and chakras. Devi's arrows took care of this. Nishumka's mace was sliced up with Devi's sword. Nishumka picked up a spear, but Devi's spear had already pierced his breast. Another asura now came out of Nishumka's body, but Devi laughed as she cut off this asura head with a sword. Several other asuras were eaten up by the lion and the other Devis. Shunga was still alive, and he said, "You are a coward. You are fighting with the help of other Devis." Devi replied, "There is no one but me. See how all these other Devis disappear into my body." This is what the other Devis did. They entered Ambika's body, and Ambika was left alone. Ambika and Shumka fought a terrible war. Many were the weapons that were hurled and repelled. Divine weapons were also used by each of them. Arrows were cut with arrows, Shakti with chakras. Ambika killed Shumka's horses and chariot and destroyed his bow. She destroyed his mace as well, and Asura attacked her with her bare fist. But Devi slapped him so hard that he fell down on the ground. However, Shumba got up again, grasped Devi in his hands, and rose up into the sky. There they continued to fight. Ambika caught Shumba up with her hands and flung him down onto the ground. And as soon as Shumba got up, Devi struck him in the chest with a Trishula. So hard was the blow that Shumba died, and the earth, the ocean, and the mountains shook with the tremors of his death. When Shumba died, the earth seemed to grow brighter and the sky clear. The clouds disappeared and the rivers returned to their normal flowers. Gandharvas sang and played on musical instruments. Apsaras danced. Fragrant breeze began to blow. The fires of yajnas were lit once more. All the devas started to pray to the goddess AMBIKA. Devi blessed them and promised them that she should reappear again whenever the need arose. Having told Suratha and Samadhi about the glories of Devi, the sage Medha told them that their path to bliss was through praise to her. On the banks of a river, Suratha and Samadhi began to perform tapasya and pray to the goddess. They forget hunger and thirst. Eventually Devi appeared before them and promised to grant them boons. Suratha desired that he might never lose his kingdom in his next life, and that he might conquer his enemies in this. Samadhi desired that he might lose all sense of ego and self. These boons were granted. Samadhi grasped the essence of true knowledge. Devi promised Suratha that in his next life he would be born as a Manu Savarni. The next Manvantara would come in the future, and the Manu then would be Daksha's son Savarna. Kartikeya would be Indra then, and the 7 rishis would be Medhatidhi, Vasu, Satya, Jatismana, Dyutimana, Savava and Havyavahana. In the 10th Manvantara the Indra would be Shanti, and the 7 rishis would be Apamurti, Havishmana, Sukrita, Satya, Nabhaga, Apratima and Vasishha. In the 11th Manvantara the Indra would be Vrishakya, and the 7 rishis would be Havishmana, Varishtha, Rishthi, Nishchara, Anarkha, Vishti and Agni. In the 12th Manvantara the Indra would be Ritadhama, and the 7th rishis would be Duty, Tapasvi, Sutapah, Tapamurti, Tapanidhi, Taparati and Tapamati. The 13th Manvantara would be known as the Ruchya Manvantara. In this Manvantara the Indra would be Divaspati, and the 7 rishis would be Thritimana, Avyaya, Tatvadasha, Nirutsuka, Nirmoha, Sutapa, Nishprakampa. Many years ago the sage Ruchi was wandering around the world. His ancestors were sorry to see him going around the homeless like this, so they asked him to marry and have children. Would he not go to Naraka if he did not have a son? Ruchi replied that he was interested in purifying his Atman, hence his desire not to marry. But his ancestors told him that the path to purification of one's Atman was not through the avoidance of one's duties. It was only if one performed one's duties and yet did not allow one's Atmans to get polluted that one achieved true success. Thus addressed by his ancestors, Ruchi said, I'm now an old man. Who will give a poor and old man like me a wife? He thought about the problem and decided to pray to Brahma. He prayed to Brahma for 100 years, and at the end of the tapasya, Brahma appeared before Ruchi. On hearing what Ruchi wanted, Brahma said, pray to your ancestors. It is they who will devise a means for you to have a wife and sons. Ruchi pleased the ancestors with his prayers, and a ball of energy appeared before him. From this ball of energy the ancestors came out, and Ruchi worshipped them with flowers and fragrance past. The ancestors agreed to grant Ruchi a boon, and Ruchi desired that he might have a wife and a son. This boon the ancestors granted. They promised Ruchi that his son would be a Manu. Ruchi was performing his tapasya on the banks of a river. As soon as the ancestors granted Ruchi his desired boon, an Apsara named Pramlocha came out of the waters of the river. Pramlocha was beautiful. She told Ruchi, I have a very pretty daughter named Malini. Take her to be your wife. Ruchi agreed, and Pramlocha brought Malini out of the waters of the river. Ruchi and Malini got married and they had a son who was named Ruchya. Ruchya Manu would rule over the 13 Manvantara. The 14th Manvantara would be Bhautya Manvantara. The sage Angira had a bad-tempered son named Bhuti, who was very easily injured. Bhuti used to curse people for very minor transgression. Scared of Bhuti curses, the wind dared not blow too hard through his ashrama, and the sun dared not shine too strongly on it. The moon did not chill the hermitage too much, and the rains never fell very hard on it. There were no seasons in his ashrama, and the trees were perpetually laden with the desired fruit. Bhuti was not a person who could take too much of hardship. He had a brother named Suvarcha, and once Suvarcha invited Bhuti to a yajna. Bhuti called his faithful disciple Shanti to him and asking him to take care of the ashrama while he was away. He then went away to attend Suvarcha's invitation. Amongst other things, Bhuti had instructed Shanti to ensure that the fire never went out in the ashrama. But while Bhuti was away, it went out and Shanti did not know what to do. The trouble with lighting another fire was that the Shanti was sure that his Guru would get to know and curse him. Not knowing what to do, Shanti began to pray to Agni. Agni was pleased and wished to grant Shanti a boon. Shanti desired the boon that there should be a fire in the hermitage, just as there had been before. Bhuti did not have a son. Early he had tried to perform tapasya so as to obtain a son. But as you have been told, Bhuti was not a person who could bear too much of hardship, and so he had given up that attempt. Shanti now desired the boon from Agni that Bhuti should have a son. He also wanted that as soon as Bhuti cast his eyes on his own son, he should start to love others as he loved his own son. In other words, he should lose his full temper. All these boons Agni granted Shanti and told him that Bhuti's son would be known as Bhutya. When Bhuti returned to the ashrama, he found that his nature was much altered. He had begun to love others. He called Shanti to him and explained that he was bewildered at this sudden change in his nature. Shanti then told him the whole story and was blessed by his Guru. Bhutya would be the 14th Manu. In this Manvantara, Shuchi would be Indra and the 7 rishis would be Agnidra, Agnivahu, Shuchi, Mukta, Madhava, Shakru and Ajita. Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Shakti Hrim, Om Tat Sat.